Why do people remember stories but forget PowerPoint slides or PowerPoint presentations, Priyanka?
They will be always talking about the rules, the golden rules, how many words per PowerPoint, how many pictures, what is the placement.
What's one storytelling technique every facilitator should learn?
55%. The majority is non-verbal. So even before you are speaking, and that is why perhaps they say that light, travels faster than sound.
What has been the most influencing and inspirational story?
I never have a story script in front of me. I always tell stories in my mind.
What does the future of storytelling look like in leadership, and how important do you think it would become very soon?
Leadership needs to work hand in hand with the CSO. Leadership are doing many things, and storytelling is becoming a part of their daily process as a tool. They are not separately doing storytelling.
What if your life became a movie? Who would play you?
Vidya Balan.
Vidya Balan. Oh my God, that's my favorite too. Yo. Welcome back to Beyond the PPT, the show where we move beyond frameworks, slides, and corporate jargon to uncover the ideas that truly transform people. So far, you would have already noticed that there are quite distinguished guests, right from Anand Shankar to Ankita Bharadwaj Gill to Alisha Gupta and Manali Zugarao, who was our last guest, who spoke about different virtues of learning and development, that it takes the will to transform yourself and not just skill. We also saw the emotional intelligence that can be developed in anybody. We also saw how someone who has been stereotyped for being from Bihar truly has become a voice and accent trainer, and her English is impeccable, Alicia. And we have also seen a healer from a learning and development standpoint. And today we have a very, very special guest. So today's guest started her career as an engineer. Typical, right? So she became an MBA gold medalist. She went on to become a TEDx speaker, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Can you imagine? And look at her fortune. She has traveled across more than 40 countries. And the best part about her travel is that she's been able to touch over 1.5 million lives. She's worked with Fortune 500 companies, educational institutions, grassroots community, and global platforms. And here's what makes her truly unique. While most people use stories to entertain, she uses stories to transform, to change mindsets, to build empathy, to create dialogue, and sometimes to help people rewrite the story of their own lives. She is a cultural engineer, social journalist, mentor, a founder of Arts4Change International, and someone affectionately known across the world as Golpodidi, the story lady. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Priyanka Chatterjee. Dr. Priyanka, welcome to Beyond the PPT. It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Namaste. And thank you, Anand, for that illustrious introduction. I was trying to look at bits and pieces. Who are you really talking about? And then, tracing back my journey, it felt really nice. Oh, really? Is it me?
It's all
Thank you
you.
so much.
It's all you, Priyanka, and the admiration that you have amongst people and the admiration that you have from my end is immense. And I think on that note, I'm going to straight away get into my questions because I'm very curious having to see your journey, having to see you very personally, up close and personal, right? So I am very, very curious in the way that you've been working and how you have outdone yourself from who you were to what you've become. So let's go to a little bit of a past wherein we take a step back. Before the world knew you as Golpodidi, who was Priyanka Chatterjee truly?
Hmm. I'm 1983 born. At the times when Mr. Gandhi's daughter, you know who I'm referring to, she used to be the role model for a lot of middle class families who used to have daughters. So every 1 out of 10 girl child would be named Priyanka. So there I was having a name Priyanka. Like you mentioned, carving a very typical path, becoming an engineer because the middle class Bengali families, they believe there can be only four kinds of professions: an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, and a chartered accountant. So I had to become 1 out of 4. So once again, from Priyanka, becoming another typical engineer. So another typical journey that continued after becoming an engineer, you will see 1 out of 5 engineers, they become an MBA. Because I don't remember, is it Three Idiots?
It
Which
is
film?
definitely Three Idiots.
Yeah,
मतलब कैसे गधे होते हैं जो इंजीनियरिंग के बाद एमबीए करते हैं.
exactly. And that's what they mentioned. I think it's in Three Idiots only that a lawyer in India becomes a lawyer, a chartered accountant becomes a chartered accountant, a doctor becomes a doctor, but an engineer can become everything. So there I was, not everything, but an MBA. But after MBA, perhaps I became everything. So typical journey till now. But once I started working in the corporate as a product manager, as a business analyst, all that I was doing is talking about products, talking about services, and interacting with my clients, that what exactly are their pain points, because most of the times they will be coming with some problem statement that is not their actual problem statement at all, because they don't know what is lying within.
Exactly.
And then I had to interact with them, I had to get to the core of the problem, redefine the problem, get it attested and approved, working with all different stakeholders, and later I realized that, you know, the stories that we are telling, each of them, and the stories that we are getting approved, not each narrative works with all the different
Exactly.
stakeholders.
True, true, true,
Yeah.
true.
So that somewhere, you know, working in the corporate, uh, not so typical journey, things were changing, because most of the times I had to work with, from vendor to client to the corporate communications, everything was there, that was offered to me as a package. And my journey in the corporate ended with a leading media house in Eastern India, where I learned that the products or the services or the organizations or the individuals, whatever we are talking about, everything has got a story. If we are not able to tell the story that we want it to get percolated in the listener's mind, we all are storytellers. So by hook or by crook, they will be going out with one story in their mind. But the problem is, Anand, that the story that they will be writing in their mind about your product, about your service, about the organization, or about the individual, because it encompasses all, I think, right? These four categories. So they, at the end of the day, they will be walking out with a story, because human beings for last 32,000 years, we have been telling stories. uh, Not even 32,000 if you look at that, that will be, you know, verbal and through linguistics. But if you look at our caveman ancestors, they were storytellers. So they codified in our genes that somewhere or the other, the story is the way of communication. And in case I am not serving you the story that I want you to walk out with, you will create your own story. And the problem is that the gap between my story that I want you to see and the story that you are walking out with, there can be a huge, huge gap. And from this gap, there are 50 different people, 50 different stories they are walking out with, or for a single product, for a single service, for a single organization, for a single individual, which you don't want. So that's somewhere, that gap, that I realized I wanted to bridge that gap. And in my role, bridging that gap in a single role, single capacity was not possible. So what do I do? From being typical Priyanka, from being typical engineer, from being typical MBA. Now, finally, I decided to go many folds from this, and staying in a corporate, one particular role, one particular capacity, it was not possible. So 21 years of altogether career journey. 11 years back, I left my hefty paying, safety, comfort wala, that corner, and I decided to hit the world. So that is my journey. When I think my real journey began, when, and that is true for anybody and everybody, the real journey begins when you actually decide to walk out of your box, look beyond the box. And I started looking for, okay, so storytelling is the thing, and I need to do it, but where do I do it? Because in India, because India and Africa has the oldest form of storytelling, right? Oral storytelling. So over here, everybody is a storyteller in some way or the other. But the problem is, when I wanted to learn storytelling in India, what I saw is what was being offered was mostly to entertain. So I didn't know where to study. I wanted to take it forward, and then I found something that immediately clicked. It was International School of Storytelling, Emerson College, 1.5 hours down south from London. Uh, I went there, I studied, and then when I came back, the world that I thought was my world, that world has expanded. And since then, there's no stopping. There are no weekends, because now I think I have really found who I am. So that's Priyanka Chatterjee, or Golpodidi for you, because in Bengali, Golpo means story and Didi means lady. So that's your story, lady.
I know. I mean, that I could sense a lot of things, Priyanka. One is your commitment to your passion. Second thing is you found your calling and you went ahead with it, right? Third thing is you're very courageous to kind of quit a hefty paying job and pursue something that is of your dream and passion that many of us today are unable to. And I'm being very gender sensitive and I'm quoting this despite being a woman. You've been able to find your ground in the space that you have aspired to be in. And that is very, very inspiring, I must say. Not just for my podcast, but I think most women who would be watching this particular podcast would definitely find it extremely inspiring. And thank you so much for being that inspiration along with being our Golpuriti, right? So I'm going to move on and I'm going to ask you this because it is beyond the PPT. Why do people remember stories but forget PowerPoint slides or PowerPoint presentations, Priyanka?
Yeah. I love this question, and this always comes because we are so stuck to the idea of PPT. It's very hard to make people break that idea. They will be always talking about the rules, the golden rules, how many words per PowerPoint, how many pictures, what is the placement. While I agree, like the Howard Gardner's model of multiple intelligences, we talk about different kinds of intelligence, right? The visual intelligence, the auditory intelligence, the kinesthetic intelligence, the interpersonal intelligence, and the intrapersonal intelligence, and some more. uh, if you look at it, visual actually garners around 70% inputs that we see, right? That's why people keep on focusing on maps and charts and graphs. But the problem is that becomes our world. If you are using that as an aid, it's okay. But when the real problem begins when you are not able to conduct the session without the PowerPoint, and that has happened not many a times, but quite a few times. And I was able to conduct the session without the PowerPoint. And I think that is what we all should practice. Remembering the famous physicist Richard Feynman, he said that you are not even a physicist. You don't even know your subject until and unless you can explain it to the barmaid who is serving you alcohol. Einstein told the same thing, that you don't know your subject until and unless you can explain it to a 6-year-old. And how do you do that, Anand? The only possibility is if you explain them through PPT, through bars, through charts, graphs. It doesn't work, right? What do a 6-year-old understand? What does a barmaid who might not have the same level of, intelligence? I'm just assuming,
No, no, no. I understand
putting,
there's no discrimination over there. It's just
yeah.
about, understanding the subject.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
because
completely
he
agree.
mentioned barmaid for a particular reason. There can be one because the socioeconomic strata and the cultural strata
Correct,
is
correct,
different.
correct.
And the second thing is the barmaid will not take interest in your physics most of the times. So
Correct,
how do
yes.
you make them understand? There comes the need of stories, because as I mentioned, our ancestors were codified with stories. When they used to come back home after work, that is hunting, back in the caveman days, they will be coming back, and then there was no language, so they might be communicating. What does it mean? Maybe they are, making people aware, their caveman friends aware, that don't go in that direction because there's a huge mammoth or an elephant right there, even when language was not there. So how certain behaviors grow? Why did we lose our coccyx? Why appendix became something oblivious in our body is the theory of evolution. And we evolved as human beings because one of the major reason is our ability to tell stories, our ability to understand stories, our ability to communicate through stories. So when our genes are actually modified to tell stories, to listen to stories, then moment we are stuck in an air conditioned room with a LED set and people sitting in front of you in rows and columns, are you expecting your gene to change? It won't, right? It is still codified, it is wired for stories. So at that time, while I know multiple intelligences framework is there, and that is why perhaps you are putting more stress on visual intelligence, but look at storytelling. It combines all the different kinds of intelligence. It has visual, because through the story you are depicting a visual journey. You know which particular direction is a particular building, maybe, which particular direction was the character looking at his or her audience. Auditory, when you are listening, when you are there's speech, there's space, there's pause, the 3 P's of vocal communication, there's modulation overall. And then look at kinesthetic, the third intelligence, because you are using your whole body, you are using a movement to communicate whatever you are trying to communicate. Interpersonal, it's not only the facilitator to the audience, but audience to audience. When something funny happens in the story, they look at each other, they exchange glances. So continuous interpersonal communication is happening. And intrapersonal, because you are inciting emotions. And navarasas, as they speak about in Natya Shastra. So the loud emotions and the subtle emotions, everything is getting triggered through the storytelling. And as they say that how how do sales happens in the world, and I'm not talking about using storytelling only in sales speeches or sales trainings, but everything is sales in this transactional world. If I am not going beyond the transcendence of this or the spiritual category, but this in this material world, everything is transaction. If you are going for the final paka dekha, when you are a marital setting is happening, you are selling yourself to your in-laws.
Correct.
When you are proposing for the first time, you are selling yourself to your prospective boyfriend or girlfriend. When you are doing the appraisal rating, you are selling yourself to your boss. And when you are trying to convince the appraisal that you have given to your subordinate, you are selling yourself and your organization and the bell curve to your subordinate. So everything that you look at, it's nothing but sales. And how do sales happen? 90% of sales is nothing but emotional sales. It happens through emotion, and storytelling can incite the emotions. That is why I think, um, apart from the
Stories.
multiple intelligences, it triggers emotions, and it can hook you in. And that is why storytelling works far, far, far better than PowerPoints or any other kinds of teaching aids.
Beautiful, beautiful, Priyanka. I mean, that's very insightful, to be very honest, because I think there is a huge demand when it comes to storytelling, when it comes to understanding concepts through stories. I'm sure you would agree, and you do have massive experience with it, isn't it, Priyanka?
Thank you. Thank you for that affirmation. I absolutely agree to you.
All right. A quick one. What's one storytelling technique every facilitator should learn?
Oh, now there's a whole gamut, and you are asking me to choose one. It's like the
One, just one.
Rama is
Quick
carrying
one.
the quiver of arrows. Choose one. Agni one. Okay. I think show not tell, because storytelling talks about telling, but
Correct.
telling only activates two parts of your brain. But when you are story showing, then there are seven different parts of the brain that is getting activated at the same time. You are using the five senses of your audience. When you can activate those senses, automatically the reinforcement and the recall of the concept gets much better. And in story showing, once again, because you are, I'm not saying inciting Navarasas means you have to cry when you are talking about a sad moment. No. But there's a spectrum, there's a continuum, right? You are given that tool, and you know that in story showing, I can use 0, I can use 10. Now, as per the audience, you balance, and you know what, to whom, how much to show. But show, not tell, because as we know in the communication Venn diagram, whenever I ask my audience, they will be always like, the verbal is 90%, 80%, but we all know, the L&D professionals, that 7% is only the words that we are speaking, 38% is how we are speaking, the 3 P's, the pause, speech, pace that I spoke about, and then 55%, the majority is non-verbal. So even before you are speaking, and that is why perhaps they say that light, travels faster than sound. Even before you are speaking, you make an impression in front of your audience.
Definitely do. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So, Priyanka, how can I let you off the hook? You're a storyteller. I want to understand one thing. What has been the most influencing and inspirational story that you have ever shared? And what was that story? Because we want you to narrate it for us.
Wow, narrate it. So every time I tell the story, it becomes a different one, because I never have a story script in front of me. I always tell stories in my mind, and uh, I actually story walk. So
Okay.
during the morning walk, I walk with my story as a companion, and the story evolves with me. So you get a new version this time as well. So I was living in the West, and in England, and over there, as you know, because of the British colonial influence, we know how the colors of the buildings are, how they look. They're majestic and beautiful white color. I was living in a small cottage, like, a bungalow kind, colonial bungalow, uh, white in color, very very beautiful, having pillars, and but very very cute. It's not the grandeur was not there, size was small, but a British bungalow. And in front there was a porch, and the bungalows were, quite separate from each other, so that way you are surrounded by beautiful lush greenery. And I used to stay in the first row. And one day my friend Tom came, and he was calling from, from in front of the porch, Priyanka, would you like to come down? And I looked down. I'm like, okay, I'm coming. Hi, Tom. And I came down, and Tom was there. Tom said, would you like to taste your favorite fruit? I said, don't joke with me. In this particular area, we only get blackberries and blueberries. I know, I love them, but you are talking about strawberries, right? Why hurting my wound? I haven't tasted strawberries for months. And he's like, yes, I'm talking about strawberries. And there are strawberries. And they are right here. And I said, Tom, don't joke with me. There are no strawberries here. He said, come, 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 come. In front of your house, the strawberries are there. And I followed him skeptically, not knowing what he's talking about. Has he bought something? Did he go to the market? Then he started lifting the vine in front of my house, the lush greenery that I spoke about. And under the vine, I could see there a small something that looked red and green, which are size of the snail, very very small. And then he plucked them out, and then he handed it over in my hand. And I was like, I'm not going to taste this. This looks like strawberry, like mini strawberry, but you are trying to kill me because this looks poisonous. I'm not going to taste it. He said, trust me, I'm your friend. And then I put it in my mouth, and I can't tell you, Anand. My mouth is salivating as I'm speaking.
I can see
because
that. I see that you're drooling literally.
because it literally, aromas were there, and the taste, there was a burst inside my mouth. And I felt like I haven't tasted this kind of strawberries ever before. um Tom went back. I went up, tucked myself in. But all this while, I was thinking, what just happened? My favorite fruit, my favorite place. Who comes and tells me? An outsider. My friend, okay, but an outsider, out of my system. He's not in my zone one. Zone one is me, zone two is others. Who comes and tells about my favorite fruit, which is hiding in my favorite place? An outsider. Being an insider, I don't have access to my inside story. That is so important to me. And that got me thinking. And then I started doing my research. I saw that in case of organizations and individuals, because that way we can tag everything under the umbrella, everything under the sun, right? Everything is either an organization, be it a community, be it any product or service that is sold by an organization, or we are an individual. We like 80% of the organizations, they are not able to communicate their mission, vision, values percolating to their major stakeholders. And 90% of individuals, they are not able to understand what is their true story. And by true story, I mean two existential questions we all ask. The first is that who am I? And the second is, why the heck am I here? What am I doing here? Why was I brought? Or why did I get born? These two questions never get answered. And I was looking for, mental health issues related to that, communication failures, corporate communication failures related to that, community misunderstandings related to that. And that got me thinking that we have the wild strawberry inside us, but we don't have access to that wild strawberry in spite of it being our own. And most of us die without even tasting that wild strawberry. So that led me to establish Wild Strawberry, which is the for-profit wing of Arts4Change International, where it helps organizations and individuals to find their own narratives, own story, without dying for it, without knowing it. And I think it's the, I would just add one sentence that you asked a question, that the most powerful story you think. I think this is most powerful because this is my own story. The beauty of personal narratives is nobody can pickpocket it. Nobody can steal it.
I know.
No, that's the power. So I think it's most impactful because through my personal story, you can see me, you can hear me, you can understand me. And once there's a saying that once you know somebody's story, it's really hard to hate that person. And that is why I also use personal narratives during the conflict management sessions as well. Conflict resolution. What is actually conflicting? Nothing but one person's story or one organization's story, one product story with another story. So you can easily, resolve things. World can become a better place. Not only when you know your own story, but other people also knows your story.
Superb, Priyanka. Superb. So, my next question to you is one thing that I've noticed in the recent years or in the current generation is that storytelling through data or and all forms of storytelling has become a very critical leadership skill, if I'm not wrong, right? So, what does the future of storytelling look like in leadership, and how important do you think it would become very soon?
Lovely. And this is always the debate that goes on in the storytelling world, because there's a new role called Chief Story Officer or Chief Storytelling Officer.
Exactly.
Right? CSO. Earlier, CSO used to be Chief Security Officer, but now Chief Storytelling Officer is really picking up. So the question is whether the organization should have one CSO, or whether there should be leadership that should be empowered with storytelling skills. Now, the thing is, it's not only the leadership, definitely the leadership, but each and every individual is nothing but a brand ambassador of that particular organization.
Absolutely.
Now, if say something happened recently in like 2 months back with one particular MNC, we all have read that story. 9 people were booked in a posh case, and I'm not naming it. But the thing is, they're not in leadership. Some of them are in HR,
Mhm.
not in the leadership role, and some they are working as data entry operator in the BPO sector. So, what are exactly they doing? What is the story that their act that is telling to the world? They are the brand ambassadors for that organization, isn't it? So,
True.
does it really help that if you are empowering the leadership to tell stories? It doesn't. The entire organization should be empowered, and they should first understand that why storytelling, how their appearance is telling a story about their organization, how whatever they are communicating may not be about their organization, but still it speaks about their organization. So I think empowerment at the grassroots is also very important, which is most often ignored. Now coming to the leadership, of course it is important, because top down, uh, only if the leadership gets empowered it can percolate. uh, Leadership needs to work hand in hand with the CSO, uh, because leadership are doing many things, and storytelling is becoming a part of their daily process as a tool. They are not separately doing storytelling, but at the same time CSO is looking at the different stories being told at different leadership levels, at grassroots level, and outside the organization as the corporate communication level, and as well as the the entire media, what the projections are. So that is why I think if we talk about only leadership, tag leadership and storytelling, it's a very very limited scope.
Ground to
the
cover. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
the scope
Yeah.
is, it should be all
Very limited.
encompassing.
Huh, huh, huh. Very interesting. I think we've had too much of a serious talk, Priyanka. Now I'm going to have a fun segment with you, and you don't have the time to think. The first thing that comes to your mind is something that you're going to share, and keep it fun, keep it live, and keep it as you are, Priyanka. Very inspiration.
What if it gets me booked and hooked?
No, don't worry. There's nothing controversial that's going to get you into trouble.
I'm joking.
I know. So, what if your life became a movie? Who would play you? And I'm sure there should be a movie in,
Vidya Balan.
based on your life, huh?
Vidya Balan.
Vidya Balan. Oh my God, that's my favorite
Yeah,
too. Yo, yo, yo.
because she is so much fun. She's quirky, and she got me my first job because back then she was not even Vidya Balan. She got her movie called Bhalo Theko, the first Bengali
Right,
movie.
right, right, right. I
Yeah.
remember.
So,
All right. So, one fictional character you would love to have coffee with?
mm, Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes. Ah,
Yeah,
great
because
story.
I have had my lassi with Feluda, and I have had my chai with Bomkesh Bokshi already in my mind. Sherlock Holmes is still pending.
It's still pending. So, I thought you would say Arthur Conan Doyle, but then you are straight away
He's too
going to
old.
Sherlock Holmes. Okay,
No,
fictional
no, no, he's
character.
too old for me.
So storytelling were a superpower. What would be yours?
Storytelling was a superpower.
Yeah.
Mm, then what would be mine? I think if storytelling is my, that comes as a cape, I don't need anything else, because that gives everything. It's like that kalpa tadwar, the kamdhenu.
Kalpataru, huh?
Yeah, you ask for
The
it,
wish
it gives you
fulfilling
everything.
tree.
Yes.
Oh my God. We are getting into too much of Sanskrit, I see. Okay.
Spirituality.
So yeah. So one word that describes today's world according to Priyanka.
Dystopian.
I'm sorry, you have to come again.
Dystopian.
Acha, dystopian, I see. All right. All right. Okay, the next question is every great story needs fill in the blanks.
Emotion.
Emotions, fabulous, Priyanka. Very,
Because what are
very
we without emotions?
true
Robots,
that.
right?
So, this is a little long kind of a question for you, and this is the last question that I have for you, Priyanka. So, Priyanka, imagine a listener is watching this episode today and feeling stuck, uncertain, or lost. What story would you want them to stop believing about themselves? And what new story would you recommend they start writing for themselves from now?
Hmm. Um, there's a boy who comes from a very humble background. And he was somehow sent to the city. He studied, he became the big boss over there. And of course, now he is very high headed. He comes back to the village and he gets a huge, warm welcome, band baja barat. But then everybody vanishes after some time. And he was skeptical. What is happening? Why nobody is around? Where did everyone go? So he follows them around, and then he saw that all the villagers, they were sitting in some kind of satsang. At the end of the village, there is a forest that starts, and over there, there's a huge peepal tree. And under that tree, there's a Guruji sitting, giving, satsang, and there are discourses that is
Discourse,
happening.
huh?
Yeah. And he is like super mad that I am the, the city guy. And how could he do that? He could snatch my audience. I am going to teach him a lesson and show everybody that he's nobody but a big, big fake. So he asked people, you think that he really knows the future? He knows what happened in your past? I'm going to show you that he is fake. Look, I have something in my hand. And what did he have? He caught a very little, like a hummingbird, like a sparrow, a very little bird, and cupped his hands and put the bird, still alive, inside his hands. And then he asked the Guruji that what exactly do you think in my hand is? There's a bird, but you have to tell me that whether the bird is dead or whether it is alive. And back of the mind, he was playing the game that in case Guruji says it is dead, I will open my hands and the bird is going to flutter and fly away. So he will be proven wrong. In case he says it's alive, I'm going to crush it in my hand and make it dead. So in any case, he is going to be proven wrong. The villagers are going to understand that I am the one and he is going to be defeated. So there was a moment and there was this pregnant pause because the Guruji had a very gentle, delicate smile in his face. And he said, Beta, the answer is in your hands.
Beautiful, Priyanka.
And I think the answer is in our hands. If you are feeling stuck, because your question said whether somebody is feeling stuck. If you think you are stuck, and if you think you are not, in both cases, you are right.
Very
Because
powerful.
the answer is in your hands.
Beautiful, Priyanka. And I don't think there could be a better closure to our conversation today, Priyanka. I just want to heartily thank you for your time and for accepting my invite, immediately. Today's conversation actually reminded us that stories are not just something we tell, they are something we live. And sometimes the most important story we'll ever change is the one we tell ourselves. So thank you from Priyanka to becoming Dr. Priyanka Chatterjee for helping us see the world and ourselves through a different lens. And I hope we have more conversations, further conversations, and we continue to spread storytelling in the world, Priyanka. Thank you so
Surely.
much and have a wonderful day ahead.
Same to you. Keep telling
And
stories and keep listening to stories.
before we leave, Priyanka, there's one humble request that I would have. Would you like our audience to please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and want more and spread the word by sharing this particular video to everyone and share their humble comments with us as well. So, Priyanka, we want you to tell the world.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell them that if you are not forwarding this to 7 people, then tomorrow your life will be cursed. But if you realize the power of stories, I don't believe in push sale, because push sale doesn't work. If I tell like, subscribe, comment, it won't work. But if you truly believe that you have a story, then you will do it. Because be it an individual, be it an organization, we all are thriving with stories. If you think that my work is important, if you think the Anand is creating a beautiful platform by talking about beyond the PPT and breaking the norm that is prevailing in the corporate world, if you think the work is important, please do it. Thank you so much.
And along with that, I assure you of something, my audience, that I would like you to share your stories on the comment box and I will have them sent across to our Golpodidi. Let it also have some fun on the comment where you share your stories and it becomes viral. What say? Right?
Yeah, would
So,
love
with
to read
that,
them.
I know. So, with that, I would request you to please like, share, and subscribe and send me a billion comments and a trillion stories. So, on that note, thank you so much and have a wonderful day ahead.
A zillion love. Thank you.